in high school, it was mainly the Italian kids would call me Vinny.
There you go. That's what I assumed might be the case. There's Will with his usual beats, leading off and into another episode. 2 days in a row?
Mm-hmm.
Today,
I believe so.
We are joined by Vince from EXCESSORIZE Me.
What up, what up?
In studio! In high fidelity, hopefully, if Will can ever figure out this audio stuff.
Nah.
One day.
Impossible.
He'll focus more on the intro music.
Yeah.
Vince, how you doing, man?
Can't complain, doing well.
Yeah.
Yourself?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm maybe never been better, actually. This is the peak right here.
I think so.
Might as well be.
Yeah.
So you've been on YouTube. You're doing stuff. Daily essentials. Look at that.
Yeah.
What's your focus?
EDC, everyday carry now. Mainly tech accessories. That pretty much sums it up. Fidget stuff is a big thing now.
Fidget is coming back?
The fidget that most people know is like fidget spinners, which was huge, maybe like 2016 or something. But this fidget stuff is more like collectibles and.
Any interesting one that you would want to highlight? I'm curious about this.
The pyramid one is really cool.
This one?
Yeah. So this one's more of a desk accessory.
I see. Well, there's still spinning going on.
This one is still spinning, yes.
Yeah, okay.
But it's not like the classic tri-circle one that
Sure.
you'd see at the dollar store or something. This is like full brass. It weighs a ton. And
What do you like about this?
I like the fact that there's only so many of them in the world. So there is that like collector factor to it. And it's something that you can actually use when you collect versus like other collectors who just like to like store it or keep it on display or something. And fidgeting has that like actual factor of like relieving anxiety if you like that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah, it's tough. Like, collectibles in general are huge right now.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it's, I don't know, COVID or just people being at home or whatever it is, but from Pokemon to NFTs to sports memorabilia, obviously you just mentioned EDC stuff taking the same. I mean, it's like, what do you think? What do you think about that? What is the essence of collecting? Like, what is the attraction to it in general?
At least for me, I think it's just having something that someone else may not have.
The exclusivity of it.
Exclusivity of it, yeah.
Right.
I think that goes for like any, like that's why you line up at Supreme or try and cop that shoe that Nike exclusively requires you to go through the app or something.
Yeah, no, they gotta definitely create the scarcity.
Yeah.
But I suppose there's still such a variety of things that are scarce that you can choose to be into. I mean, you mentioned Supreme. That you're not a collector of such things, are you?
I actually recently started to buy a few things.
Oh, really?
But in the EDC realm. So they have this lighter case that literally just, it's like a metal shell for a Bic lighter. That says Supreme on it.
What's that going to cost?
I paid like 100 Canadian for it. I was at the store downtown. I think it was OD Toronto or whatever. They sell like Supreme stuff. And I looked at it. I'm like, I don't know. I think you get to a point in your life, at least for me, it was like, okay, well, maybe I have that one right there with the chain.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was like, yeah. I don't know if it's treating myself or if it's like, because I don't smoke either. So I got it.
Is this like a cheap way into Supreme?
I think so, for me at least. It was something that's like, again, I could actually use. And I think whenever I buy something, at least, I think about how can I fit it into a video. So Supreme, this one was like, okay, I could do either a red theme, I could do a whole Supreme theme.
Yeah, it's weird how that happens. When the thing becomes the profession, and then it becomes the justification.
Yeah.
And then you wonder if you ever would have done such things if it weren't for having the project in the background that acted as that justification.
I definitely would have not. Like if I couldn't justify it as a video, I wouldn't have bought it.
Right.
Like it just doesn't make sense for me. Like I'm not into hype beast, as I think it's called. But I know that people are. So it justifies the fact that, oh, I can make a video out of this.
Yeah. You get into this general interest stuff of, well, hey, people are into it, so why don't I take a peek at it? Because now I can make a video about it. And it's, but then you influence other people to go do the same thing. And it's this very bizarre relationship that goes on there. I watched a few of your videos. You have a certain style to them. How would you describe this style?
I would say destructive.
Whoa.
Pretty much sums it up.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It's intimidating.
And I think it's either you like it or you don't like it. So a big trend in the comments is, oh, stop treating your iPhone that way.
Oh.
Which for me is like, why? It's a phone. You know, it's like if it breaks, it breaks. And I think my job as the video creator is to show you that if it does break.
So how do you treat your iPhone?
In the videos, I drop it. I throw it around, and I would treat it as like, if this were to happen, this is what would happen. Okay. So I drop it on the floor, I drop it on tables, and I throw things around, I scratch things.
Would you consider it scientific?
I call it a scientific test, but no, there's no scientific. The thing with drops, and I think what a lot of viewers, I don't want to say don't understand, but like kind of forget, is the possibilities of a drop is so endless, where it's like, if your floor isn't completely flat, there's no way you can replicate the same drop. If there's like a single pebble on the floor, that could make, no matter how good a case is or whatever it is, your phone's gonna crack. No matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what.
I hear where you're going. So you're essentially saying these drop tests and such not super useful in reality because the number of variables and what's not being represented in the video, and then the potential that you're going to encounter some of those variables is also high. Because I've been fairly fortunate with my devices. I don't think I've broken very many of them. And it's not because of constantly using cases, and it's certainly not because of using robust cases. It's, maybe you could call them lucky drops or very like small drops. Yeah. Things like this. But I've seen other people break their phones on dumb looking drops. It would just like slide out of the pocket and travel no distance. And then they're like, what about my ceramic shield? Yeah. And you can't, there's not much you can say about it. It's just whatever. It happens to be the way that it hit. Yeah. And I think when it comes to protection of a phone, at least, screen protectors are way more important than a case. Protect the front. Yeah. That's what you interact with. The biggest part you interact with, and the part that most no case will cover. Right. And that's the, like, if your back cracks, whatever. Like, it doesn't look good, but your phone is still usable because your screen is intact. Do you go for like the glass style screen protector, or do you use the soft ones? I like the soft ones, personally. I just can't. I just don't like that feel. It's definitely a different feel. But for me, the idea of like, if I'm not going to cover my phone, like I may as well do it because I want it to be protective. Whereas glass is known to look great and feel great, but in the end, it's glass. Glass on top of glass. Yeah. I mean, you can break in many cases the screen protector and not the screen, though. It will take the majority of the force. I suppose you could probably break both. I've never done that. I've never done that either. Right. But I know with the soft ones, the more plasticky, flexible ones, like if it were to ever encounter like a drop or something, it's much less likely it'll crack. Oh, of course. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I can reuse it. You know, you can hit it with a hammer. Like I've done and looked at both, and I think the soft ones have the more impressive demonstration, but the hard ones, the glass ones, are more pleasing to interact with.
Yeah.
And so that's your trade.
It's what the
That's
trade-off is you want in the end. Yeah.
And often when you see the hard style screen protectors, because we sell them with Later case, like we have you sell in a 2-pack. So then it's like I screw up one of them, and then I got this other one that I can reapply. It's not perfect. There's no perfect solution. Each one, like you said, has its benefits and drawbacks. So then, when on your phone itself, like how much protection are you having on there? On a typical, obviously you have to change all the time because it's your channel. But what is your optimal? What's your loadout?
As a daily driver, like my general is a pop socket. This one's a D-brand case.
A pop socket on a tiny phone.
Yes,
that is a little strange.
I just love the idea of having grip.
Right.
And that's what I personally love the D-brand case just because it feels good in the hand. It's not the slimmest case.
Right.
By no means. But it's one where it's like I know when I'm holding it.
Right.
And then the pop socket, I'm just so used to having it. And all my mounts, like my car mount, uses a pop socket.
Right.
And with the MagSafe one nowadays, you can just take it off and pop it back on.
It's funny because my impression of the pop socket is it would be most useful on devices like huge devices.
Yeah.
Because they're heavy and I don't know, just less comfortable to find a nice hold on.
Yeah.
That phone, that's the mini phone, right?
Yeah, it's the 13 mini.
Yeah, the mini phone is so easy to hold.
Yeah. But there's still that like freedom when you hold a pop socket like this and you don't need to wrap your fingers around.
Right.
So it's like, and then you have full reach of everything, and it's just like carefree, is the way I put it. Where it's like I'm not worried about like, okay, I need to make sure I'm holding this.
Yeah,
this is like I'm just make sure I do it and I can do whatever, and then
cool.
That's
so. How did you make the decision on the mini?
I had the 12 Pro last year.
Yeah.
I tried the 12 mini for a while. I just at the time I was like, but after using the 12 Pro for about a year, I just like holding smaller things just because it's, again, like the phone to me is a tool. It's less more like I consume on it, but more so I just check stuff on it. So if I can take up less space in my pockets or, have to worry less about dropping something, then whatever. Like I have the 13 Pro as well, but that I have exclusively for content.
I see. Yeah. So that one stays like packed off somewhere else.
Yeah, like that's the one I throw around and stuff. If it breaks, it breaks. Whatever. I mean, which is a very privileged thing to say, I think. But
right. Yeah. Careful.
Yeah.
So you've been on iOS exclusive. Do you ever mess around with Android stuff or no?
I think the only Android device I've bought recently is the Fold 3.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, I've done Android videos. Like I've done best accessories for Samsung, the S20 and stuff, and the S10 as well. But the Fold 3 I bought for myself. Because it was like, okay, if I'm going to get into Android, I want to have that extra reason to get into Android. And the Fold 3 was like, okay, this is basically a tablet in your pocket kind of thing, like you're using it yourself.
Well, I mean, this one is so different. I mean, it's just exclusively it. And in a way, it feels, I almost feel a responsibility to live with it, like as my everyday phone.
Yeah.
In order to, there's just so much parity across phones. Like it's just such a subtle difference. Like even the way you talk about using the mini, it's like, I don't know, it's a little smaller, and phones are good, right? They're all
good.
And I will flip back and forth from different flagship devices for the most part, whether it be a Samsung or a Pixel or an iPhone, and you would have this. You would have this experience that met your expectation exactly. There would be no surprise, very little novelty.
Yeah.
Oh, this feature's so cool, for 5 minutes or
exactly.
Even now I'm hearing people finally got the 120 on the Pro models and they're kind of not as enthusiastic about it as prior to having it. Yeah, all right, I see it. You know,
I think it's the same with like the cameras as well, especially when you're just like you're not doing anything professional with it, and they try and sell the whole cinematic thing. It's like, are you like there are several tests of the cinematic where it's like just to edit it or just to deal with that kind of content. A regular person, I think, wouldn't want to deal with that. You know, it's like, so is that really a selling point for a lot of people?
Well, in that case, maybe a regular person wouldn't want to deal with that or do that, but doesn't mind the idea of being capable of doing it. It's a weird thing about marketing, right? You can buy some Jordan shoes and you're not ever imagining dunking a basketball. Like there's something about being associated or affiliated with a brand or feature that seems almost above the way in which you would use something, or like driving a car that can go way faster than any car should possibly go,
and never actually go that speed.
And where are you about to drive it? I mean, you can go to the track, you can do it, you know, on a weekend or something. You can take out a fast car and drive it actually fast. But for the most part, it's constantly sitting there being used in. Man, you and I, we could probably live life on smartphones from 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Probably live life. We're probably still alive. If you try to think of the actual impact that these latest releases have on you, and I'm going to be honest now, take it for what it is, because I change phones all the time, and I'm sure you do too. But from one model to the next, I almost forget what I was, with the exception of this Fold, which is why I stick to it, because I'm like, okay, that's something different. But phones have been good now for 3-4 years at least. Maybe battery life has improved a little bit. How's the battery life on that new Mini? I heard it was better.
A little better, and actually that's why I stopped using the 12 Mini. I think for many, it just wouldn't last you the day.
Right.
And just like, it was okay last year because no one was going outside and doing much. But if you were, like, you'd last maybe half a day and you'd have to charge up. And that's why I think I stopped using that one. But this one, so far, I've only had it for like a week. But
it is improved.
It'll last me a day.
That's cool. I mean, that's mostly what you need.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to charge every night anyways. It doesn't really matter to me.
When it comes to charging, what's your charge routine? Are you doing wired, wireless? What type of power brick? What's going on here?
Usually wired, and I don't know what power brick it is. It's just like 4 USB-C hub, and like 2 of them are 100 watt outputs, and one of them I have the lightning cable plugged into it, which doesn't make any sense because iPhones can only charge at like
20 watts
or something.
Yeah.
But I know it's going to charge the fastest that way, and I just charge it in, plug it in, like maybe around in the evening, not even overnight. Like when I'm editing or doing something on the computer, I'll just plug it in just because it's there.
Interesting.
And I don't have it charged on my bedside because, at least recently, I've been trying to like not bring my phone to bed with me.
Look at this.
Yeah, like the whole like.
Look where we've
better lifestyle.
Where we found ourselves.
Yeah, and you know what? It's worked. It's done great things. Whereas like I'm sleeping better. I sleep faster. I have less like, I don't want to say anxiety, but like, you know, I don't.
You can say it.
I'm not turning around and like, oh, okay, I'm gonna check my phone, or I wonder if I got an email, or I wonder like if someone texts me at night, they can wait till the morning, kind of thing. And then I have my alarm set on it so that because it's in the other room, I have to get up and turn it off. So the old classic way of like putting your alarm clock somewhere else than to just hit snooze and go back to sleep kind of thing. And that's worked really well too. Just to get me out of bed, whether that keeps me out of bed is another question, but it's usually that first step, right? You know, getting out of bed.
Is this in some way related to other aspects of your lifestyle? I presume you're your own boss, right?
Yes. I sleep really late. So, and I wake up really late. So I needed to find a way to like make sure I actually get up at like a reasonable time.
What's really late as far as the wake up? What do you, where were you
on a good day, I'll wake up at like 3 p.m.
No. This is not good.
It's definitely not good. But I sleep at like 6 or 7 a.m. on the regular, which is also not good. It's the lifestyle that just happened over COVID, and I don't like it. I don't want it. I'd like to change it. It's easier said than done, though.
So you should be sleeping by now, like right now.
No,
It's noon.
yes,
Right?
yeah. I had to get up really early for this.
Wow. You know what's tough for me on that one? I had some weird habits throughout my life when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
What's your age, Jeff? Do you mind saying?
I'm turning 30 like next week.
Okay. So when I was a lot younger, I used to have similar habits. I would try to, like, for some reason, push into the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I don't know what you're trying to prove. I don't know what the motivation was. My lifestyle personally has changed a ton, and therefore, in many ways, it's sort of dictated the schedule. But I think a lot of people struggle with meeting whatever their optimal criteria is for when to go to bed or whatever it is. It's the same number of hours. You're just shifting it in one direction. It seems simple, right?
Yeah.
So what is the struggle then?
The struggle for me is I like to be awake at night because nobody else is, which means I can work worry-free in a sense where it's like I'm not worrying about, if my girlfriend texts me or if someone wants them to do something and text me to go out or something. Or if an email comes in, I have to somehow respond to it. From 12 a.m. to 6 a.m., I don't literally never think about that. So that's when I edit and work, and sometimes I play games and stuff. But it's it's like a worry-free time. But the downside of that is I wake up when everyone else has already processed their whole day, basically. And then I'm all refreshed, and they're all like, "Oh, I don't want to do anything."
Right? Yeah.
And then you get the cycle of, okay, then I'm never going outside.
Today's episode is sponsored by Purple. You may have heard of Purple mattresses. There's even a Purple pillow, Purple Harmony pillow. There's a lot of things that are trying to interfere with and disrupt your sleep. I don't know if you knew that well. It could be the warm temperatures, because you need to have that cool sleeping style.
Oh, yeah.
You can't be waking up all hot and bothered.
No.
You wouldn't want to do that. It could also be Otis in your house. He could be, I don't know, chirping, barking.
Yes, the troublemaker.
Who knows? Anyway, Purple doesn't want any of that to get in your way. Purple mattresses have the Grid, a unique ventilated design allowing air to flow through to help you sleep cool. The Grid is amazingly supportive for your back and legs and cushioning your shoulders, neck, and hips no matter how you sleep. I'm usually on the side. I sleep on the side. What are you doing?
I'm a side sleeper.
You go on the side as well. Yeah. Memory foam remembers everything, and unlike that, the Grid bounces back as you move and shift, so you never get that I'm stuck feeling you might have inside of the memory foam. Now, Will, you actually gave this a go, this particular pillow. Did you notice a little more breathability?
It kept my head cool.
You had a cool head.
On one side.
Cooler heads prevailed. Purple is comfort reinvented. Right now, you get 10% off any order of $200 or more. Go to purple.com/Lew Later. Use the promo code Lew Later. That's purple.com/Lew Later. Promo code Lew Later for 10% off any order of $200 or more. That's purple.com/Lew Later. Promo code Lew Later. Terms do apply. Thank you to Purple for sponsoring the show. Today, we're also sponsored by Calm, and this is maybe my favorite name of any of our sponsors, Calm. Just
Calm.com.
Saying the word makes you feel calm. But today, it's all about bringing calm to your workplace if you're in charge of such things, because a workplace can be hectic and stressful and so forth, and you can actually provide calm to people in the workplace so they could be encouraged to figure out how to chill out, how to relax, how to find that inner calm. You can give employees free access and a full content library offering accessible, effective content to meet the needs of a diverse workforce. Access ever-growing content library from any device, anytime. It could be inspirational, mind-training, masterclass stuff. I saw LeBron James on the website.
Mm-hmm.
Get a little quick pep talk from LeBron on your way to work. Got a big meeting and presentation and such. Do that, Will. Business leaders know that healthy, happy employees create successful companies no matter what industry. Calm for Business can help your employees be their best selves at work. Burnout is in every other business management article these days. But what are you actually doing to help your employees fight it? With Calm for Business, you can take a forceful step in improving your employees' mental health at work. You can kickstart this mental well-being by using Calm. They have programs tailored for mental health and productivity and a mindfulness at work series. Millions of employees at over 600 companies like Lincoln, Iterable, and Universal Studios use Calm for Business. Right now, Calm for Business is offering a 1-year subscription for HR and benefit leaders when you go to calm.com/Lew Later. That's CALM.com/Lew Later. A free year. 1 free year, Will. So go ahead and experience what Calm can do for your company. Get started today at CALM.com/Lew Later. Thank you to Calm. I hear that. I hear what you're saying. I used to mess with music a lot, do music, and there's something about the idea of the rest of the world, or at least your immediate world, being long asleep. It's like some sort of psychological load, even if, because my phone's on Do Not Disturb fairly frequently anyway. It doesn't matter if it's midnight or not. If I can remember, I'm putting it Do Not Disturb because of the same reason you're saying, is it can really sidetrack you when you're trying to maintain your focus. There's so many distractions now.
Yeah.
And I think we're all fairly cognizant. I think everybody has their own moves for how to deal with that. For me, I think I substituted some of the going to bed late stuff for just not responding to my phone, not really allowing it to even disrupt, just turning off crazy number of notifications. But then again, it's also, I think you get into that mindset when I first started down this career, it was all of a sudden notifications from social media and stuff like that didn't make any sense, because it was, the load of it was too, it was like, oh, you got to manage. I feel like I got a crash course in it dating back to first video that took off when I had emails turned on for subscribers. It's like, oh, right. We got to turn all this off.
Yeah.
We got to turn everything off or we're never going to get anything done.
Yeah.
And so it kind of led me down this path of hyper editing of what can actually ping me. And there's that slim set of things that can actually turn a phone on at this point.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole iOS 15, like the new focus mode or whatever.
Right. Definitely myself, yourself, not the only one struggling with such things. It's there's got to be a demand. For that. There's that.
Yeah, it's like you get you're in the zone, and then suddenly you get a tweet, and it takes another hour to get back into that zone. You know, and at midnight, I don't have to deal with that. That's just
Are you a coffee drinker?
Yeah, I drink like 2 a day.
Okay.
It's not great when you're drinking at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
And
then another at like 8.
Yeah, you're setting up the trend there.
The whole cycle just it feeds itself.
Anyway, you're as far as your channel goes, you think that we can bring up a video here that is the best representation of what you're trying to do? Which one comes to mind here? We've got the whole thing out front. No. Will always does that, embarrass people. You don't have to do that, Will. It's rude.
Man.
Every single time you click on one of those videos, I see the person squirm over there and then use the word cringe, and then they're very uncomfortable.
Oh, okay.
It definitely is cringy, but it's.
Unless you want. Do you want to go back to the beginning?
I think for the first 3 years, it was pretty much the same type of content. So I don't.
So the answer is no. I was right.
I don't love talking about it, but it definitely. I don't hate it, but the whole destructive thing has always been there, though. So
the theme,
like throwing stuff around and just kind of not caring.
Wow, look at this. Okay, so you've tempted Will into playing back. Actually, I think I may have looked at a product from this company at one time. Is this made out of wood? This
Carved, case? Yeah. I think their thing is the backside is natural wood, and
a piece of real wood.
Yeah.
Is that the case?
No, so I was probably doing a comparison or something, saying, "Well, that's real wood." And same type of stuff.
I'm guessing this is not most representative of what you're trying to do.
Probably not this anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
What can we go to?
Last like 2 years of content has changed quite a bit. So yeah. So nowadays I do like back to EDC content and accessory like roundups and stuff like that.
Which one is the best?
Probably best accessories, that orange one on the bottom left.
Oh, I like that you knew right away. I like
Yeah.
this. Okay, let's get some volume here, Will.
Like this.
Oh,
let's
into
check it out.
the magnets.
Yeah. So I tossed my
Let's
phone
start off
there.
with one of my favorite finds and new battery that I stumbled upon. Yeah, you heard that right. This is the Rolling Square Towel, a battery that's packed inside this Tic Tac sized container. It's fairly light and made of plastic, but
Is this real time or is it sped up at all?
But what makes it one of my new
It's-
favorite
a lot of the parts are
accessories
sped up.
are these: a built-in USB-C cable on one side and a combo Lightning and micro USB on the other. Plus, I really appreciate they use this thick rubber cable too, so it's not something I have to worry about tearing in
Pause it for a second, Will.
package.
So this is all voiceover?
Yes.
Okay, so all you have to focus on is filming the visual that you want
Yes.
at this point.
Yeah.
And then you know that you're going to put the details in the voiceover at a later point.
Yeah. So I from speaking with other creators, I film almost backwards. Like I do all the shots first, and shots for me, for I guess what other people consider B-roll, because I'm not in any of the shots other than the intro and the end.
Well, you weren't always in the intro though, right? Or have you always been?
I've always been in the intro
Okay.
at the very least, and the end part where I say the usual subscribe stuff. But the chunk of the content is usually tabletop.
Right.
And it's all product focused. The goal was like, if you were to watch it on mute, you'd know exactly what's happening, or you can imagine what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So the actions, every action I do has an intent.
That's cool. I mean, because show versus tell, you can get, man, once you get your face on camera,
Yeah.
you can just start talking.
Yeah.
And particularly like in my case, it's always a struggle because it's kind of for a long time was like point the camera. You see, there's many people working here, but it would still kind of function in a similar way to how it had always functioned. Point the camera, talk, and then we'll find a video inside of there somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, sometimes it happens, other times it doesn't. But there's not a whole lot of planning that goes into it. Sometimes you put a small amount of planning and you can have much different results you might like better. And in your case, I think there's a sort of conciseness to it, which is nice. It feels like an efficient use of your time to watch it. Things are moving very rapidly.
Yeah.
And increasingly that's important.
That's been the goal, like throughout the whole channel, was like, I'm asking for 3-4 minutes of your time. At least back then, I want to make sure it all counts. So I do all the visuals first. So at least for me, I think when you're watching a video, you want to see things happen. And then the audio and what you hear me talking about is just complementary to what you're seeing.
Right.
So I make sure I hit all the talking points visually, and then later on, once I've like done a first draft of the edit and all the speed ups and all the ramps and all the cuts, I'll script to what I'm looking at on screen.
Okay, and then read the script.
And then voice over the script, and then make sure it all aligns together.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I did. I had a similar model to making videos at one point in time when my studio was a closet. And it's sort of almost a reaction to some of the limitations and boundaries of the actual physical space. And I would do the voiceover after, but never with a script. Just kind of just watch it and almost narrate it like off the top. But things have changed on YouTube. You gotta bring your A game now, right? It ain't no easy views out there.
Yeah, and I tried the whole A-roll talking head.
Okay.
Like I did a mail time series where it was just like the idea was I was receiving so many products to like try and test out, which I'm sure you're very familiar with, and
Never.
I felt bad with all the stuff that people were sending me, but I never had a chance to feature them because the videos are so curated, or it just didn't fit in the theme. So I'm like, okay, I'll do the mail time where I'll just open it on camera and talk about it, and it'll just me A-rolling and speaking as I go. And I found that it worked great for my current audience, like people who already knew me and they wanted to know about what I was getting, but it didn't work to grow my channel. And I think it was actually hindering my performance because I was doing such long videos, just 20-minute video, because there's so many products packed into one, that YouTube just wasn't promoting these videos anymore to a new audience. Although my current audience was watching it, I wasn't getting any growth from it.
Yeah.
And from a business perspective, it just like the series just didn't work for me.
That's the toughest challenge. One of the toughest challenges is this idea of satisfying the group of people who are enthusiastic about your channel, and they're probably the most vocal as well in many cases. And there's a sense of responsibility there that those people are out there. They're really appreciating what you're working on, but that in some way, the thing you're doing that they really appreciate might not be the best for you overall, or as a plan or program for the future.
Yeah.
And so that's that's a hard line to walk, is how to balance those two groups, the people who aren't there yet and the people who are.
Yeah.
And as you move through this experience, you realize that sometimes it's impossible.
Yeah.
You have to, even this show, we just published one of these shows today, and people are saying, where's the old show where you're just talking about the news and whatever else? Where do I find that? I used to have such a routine. And you're sitting there saying, well, if you could find a number of other people to do the same, maybe it would work out. If you get out there, I don't know what you're going to do, get out in the street and promote this show. And then we can continue to do it all the time, because there's only so much time in the day. There's only so many projects. You got all these channels. I mean, you even said you have so many products showing up. Some of them you just push to the side. Yeah. Even though it might be really interesting to somebody, you are really limited by that time resource.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just a matter of like it's catering to your current audience, catering to the audience that could be, and it's catering to YouTube.
Sure, which YouTube is the interface between both things.
Yeah. And the algorithm is it's how it decides, like it sees that your current audience is watching. And so
where are you at right now in your YouTube, in your love-hate relationship with YouTube?
I'm at that like point where I need to scale in terms of people.
Okay.
So I need to build a team out, and like I'm at a point where I'm getting so many sponsors, I don't have enough time to fulfill them all, which is great, but also not great. And I was talking to Will, is just building a team is a whole like job in itself almost.
It's totally separate.
Yeah.
Build a good team is a different skill set than working alone.
And it's something I don't think like I'm very good at. Like, so that's even harder for me, because I think I love content. I love creating content. The business side of things, while it makes me money and I love making money, like I'm not very good at like seeing the bigger picture there, or managing money in general. I think I'm not like spending all my money everywhere, but I'm also like not using it wisely. So
you're talking about the Supreme lighter holder.
But it could be that, but it's more like I need to start spending money on people.
Okay.
To get my time back. And how do I do that smartly? I guess is that the word? But because I could hire someone, and there's that trust factor of letting someone into your world that's so secret to everyone else. And if that doesn't work out, okay, well, I gotta make sure that they're not gonna suddenly go out and start, spewing all these secrets that I've given to them in this time that I've tried to train them.
What type of secrets you got?
It's not even just secrets, but it's like, there's a lot of back end things that you just don't want the public to know about, Not like
you're just talking about day-to-day YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's less so now than ever before. People know what's going on YouTube. All these people posting videos all the time. There's got to be some reason for it.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a granularity that people aren't aware of, but increasingly, I would say the public awareness around the business aspects of YouTube are more obvious than they have been in the past.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's just, it's like something that like you've built and managed your whole life, and something you're letting someone else take control of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's widely applicable. I think that applies in many businesses.
Yeah.
Where it's your baby. It's like this thing that...
Yeah. And then that's why I'm saying I'm struggling to, like, you know, on the business side, at least, how do I let that go? Or how does someone let that go?
Some never do.
Yeah.
Some just keep
I've never experienced that.
Yeah, some keep it exactly what it is. And then others make mistakes, and then some go and do it and then go back to the way things were, because the essence of the motivation, like the reason for doing it in the first place, is no longer there once it becomes too business oriented. It depends on the individual,
yeah,
and which part of the process they truly enjoy. See, the thing is, like you said, business in many cases is a whole different skill set, and some people are motivated or interested in it in a similar way to the way you may be interested in editing a video. And others might look at that as just a nuisance, as a kind of an extra piece that a necessity, but also not all that exciting. I think it's about if you're you didn't even ask me this, but I suppose this is the way these conversations go, because I have kind of been through it.
Yeah,
is you're attempting to find help in the places where you might be, where your skill set doesn't reside exclusively.
Yes.
That you would offload those tasks first, and then keep hands-on with the things that you deem important or that you deem enjoyable for yourself. Like, that's a thing you can do. You're in control. You can look for help in the places where you're bogged down. Where are you bogged down right now?
Right now, it's actually in the space that I like doing, which is curating, like finding products to fit a theme. I love doing it, but it takes up most of my time.
Just finding cool items.
Yes.
Will used to do that for a bit. He used to describe himself as that.
Yeah. The struggle is real.
Yeah. Because it has to be different. It has to be cool. It has to be interesting. And it has to, like, not act like suck in real life. Because it can be marketed as really cool, but like when you get it in hand and suddenly it's like complete garbage, I can't promote that, and nor do I want to.
Like a lot of Kickstarters and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like it's hard to find cool products now, because they are Kickstarters, but they need to be the third iteration of it to finally be something where it's like, okay, I'm willing to promote this and not have any, commenters come back and say, I bought this and it's complete garbage. What are you doing? Like,
or they send you the one working model and then ship out the It's increasingly now, because people are doing all their research and shopping online, and they're basing, in some cases, very strong opinions on just a piece of video content, a few minutes of video.
Yeah.
Think about a video. Video is a very limited representation about interacting with a thing. We all have to use these weird terms like, oh, it feels good in the hand.
Yep.
Like you said that, like, well, what the hell?
Yeah.
And then they have to go based on what we're saying, or you're lacking so much information there about the actual experience of having bought the thing, but you're feeling as though you know it. So disappointment must happen on a fairly frequent basis for people who see something in a video and then receive it and it's not what they expect.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just a consequence of the current way in which we interact with products.
Yeah. And at least for me, that's the goal of like how I film, which is like scratching things and like throwing things around, is like you can, although I say it, like you can also hear it and see it happen. And while it's not like, again, like there's so many scenarios that can happen where, like, for instance, the drop test, at least you get some sort of example instead of looking at a photo of it. you can see it in action. And
It feels more realistic.
I would hope that they take something more out of it. I think one of the biggest things that irks me with reviews or people who call it a review is when they say, oh, like, let's say, for instance, a tough phone case. And they'll say, I think it'll protect my phone. But I mean, as your job as the reviewer, it's like, am I asking, like, I want to know, it's like, there's so many people like are afraid to throw their phone.
Yeah.
But as the review, I think that's your job. If you're going to call it a review,
if you're going to call it a review, I think that's a key component in there. And that's where a lot of I had a similar version of this conversation yesterday with Matthew Moniz about how it's really hard to put yourself in the shoes of each individual viewer and imagine what it is that matters to them and how to give them good advice. Because we have to craft a piece of content that thousands, if not millions of people are going to see. And each one of them has a specific set of needs. So the idea of generally saying something is better is so hard.
Yeah.
And nearly impossible, because it's better for who on what day, given what attributes and what inputs. And it's just, it's really difficult. You're right in a sense that if somebody wants to know if they can drop something, probably some of the best evidence they can get is to see a thing dropping.
Yeah.
As far as the limitations of what the job entails. But arguably, the better piece of information would be over time.
Yes, 100%.
And that's where things get squirrely.
Yes, mainly because by the time you've tested it long enough, it's no longer relevant.
Exactly.
And so it doesn't make sense for us to,
We can't talk about stuff that we've lived with for 8 months because it wouldn't make sense from a business perspective. You see how the multi-headed monster shows up again.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense from a business perspective to put that information out there. And also, when the enthusiasm dips, people wouldn't even care as much themselves as the question initially. What they really want is an impossibility. They want a review the day that they can buy something from a person who's used it for a year. But the thing just came out.
Yeah.
That thing doesn't exist. So what you end up with is a bunch of people trying to rapidly tell you what to do, even though the item is so fresh that nobody really can give you that comprehensive thing yet. Like when people be asking, hey, man, what do you think about that barbecue in your backyard? And more often than not, the way I'm going to speak to them is in the context of time. I would say, well, it was great for this long, but then a burner went, and then this thing. It's like in the old days when people, I only drive a Ford truck, never had a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's based on your experience with a thing, maybe over the course of a life, of an entire life.
And even then, it's like, that's based on how I treated it and how I worked with it for the last 8 months. And it may not be applicable to you. And so and there's that whole trend on YouTube with 48 hours later, 6 months later, 1 month later. And it's like, I think it's going to be the same. I think. For phones, at least, I think. It's at least for phones nowadays.
Right.
It's like they're all.
No, it would have to be a longer term because if you go out in public and you see there's plenty of people using phones that are way older than that.
Yeah.
Just in regular life outside of the YouTube space, certainly outside of the tech segment, person pop out an iPhone 7, no problem. It's iPhone 13 right now.
Yeah. If someone made a video and said, I'm still using the iPhone 4, it's like 8 years later, I'd watch that.
That's kind of interesting. How'd you make it happen?
Yeah.
Wonder if there'll ever be a time where people restore old phones in a similar way to like they do with collector cars. I'm using a mint condition iPhone 4.
Yeah.
It's got a new battery. It's got a new screen. It's just.
I like his one right there.
That's not going to happen, by the way.
8 months ago, iPhone 4.
In 2021.
Yeah.
Still worth it. Oh, Simple Alpaca. I feel like I've been on that channel before. Maybe not, but that's a heck of a name. That's a standout name. shout out Simple Alpaca, an iPhone. Oh, this is what they do. iPhone 6S
Yeah.
in 2021. Still, this is what they do. You see, you can't come up with somebody did it.
But there's no business interest in that, and that's the key, right? Like you're not selling an iPhone 4.
Is it the key?
It's the key to it's the driving force to making that content.
Right.
I think because you're not trying to sell the 4 to anyone.
Yeah, sure.
Versus with the 13 you did
Sure.
it now, like you want people to buy the 13.
No. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think it's possible that Simple Alpaca is fine with the idea that this won't be the biggest business hit that's out there. And there is YouTube content that does still exist, which appears to be motivated by alternative means.
Yeah, 100%.
It's not the majority.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's once upon a time when I started on YouTube, the idea of monetizing at all was fresh. Like, oh, you're going to make money off of it.
It was exclusive, wasn't it?
What do you mean?
Where you had to be invited to the
partner program.
Yeah,
absolutely, man. I remember those days. I was like, I'm a partner now.
Yeah.
Look, I'm a real boy now.
people were showing off their checks from Google.
I'm a real boy now.
Yeah,
I actually won't forget that story. I was at somebody's wedding, my cousin's wedding in Mexico, and then I got an email that I was invited to the partner program, and it was like kind of like one of those moments of told you so moments, because a lot of people called me crazy 10 years ago or whenever it was. You're posting videos on the internet, but I even when did you start?
I want to say like 6 years ago, maybe.
Whatever it was. I mean, there's never a shortage of people willing to call you crazy.
Yeah.
Or I mean, but it's so much work. That's the thing. It's so much work.
Yeah. It's
How many hours of your life have gone into this YouTube channel?
too many. I think. I mean, I don't have days off.
More than 10,000 hours?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is, I mean,
What's the best part? What's the worst part of it?
The best part is being my own boss, and the worst part is being my own boss. 100%. Like going back, I graduated straight out of university. I got a job in digital marketing, which was completely not my field at all. I quit 6 months later, and then I did YouTube. So what I lack is discipline and work ethic, because I didn't build it up over time. I had a full-time job for 6 months. Before that, I had like an intern I interned at IBM, which is great, but it was the one thing that taught me was I don't want to work at a corporate company. And then I worked at a startup for digital marketing, and then I realized I don't want to work there either. And then I did my own thing. And so I never had that like drive to wake up at 9 to 5, or I never had the work ethic of, being in a team, being responsible for deadlines and all that. And for a long time, even doing YouTube, I didn't have all that. Like I didn't have sponsors for 2-3 years going into it. So it was all based on interest, like things that just I wanted to do. But now that I do have sponsors and I do have deadlines, with the lack of not having discipline from before, I don't want to say I'm missing deadlines, but it's like it's really hard on me time-wise to like figure out, okay, this is what I need to do, and this is what I need to prioritize. I need to get up at a proper time to like get it done.
You're talking about work right now.
Yeah.
You're talking about a grown working man. That's what you're saying here.
And I think I think I lack that. I lack that. Like I haven't, I guess, put in the hours elsewhere to be able to say like, and again, like,
don't you think you can develop it though?
I think so, but I don't think like I've built this channel, which is great, but I don't think I'm like an entrepreneur or business person in any sense, even though I've built a business.
Would you prefer if you had somebody, like if, let's say your next hire or your first hire, would you prefer that person to be on the creative side, a creative partner, editor, something, anywhere in that realm, or would you prefer that person to be on the business side and sort of handling some of this correspondence and then scheduling things out for you?
I think creative. I know, because I spend most of my time doing the creative work, which is where I lack that work ethic. Business-wise, It's just responding to emails and stuff, which is fine.
Oh, okay.
But where I lack is the work ethic to put in the time to start filming, to start editing. Even
Start filming. So would there be a day where you wouldn't film at all?
yeah, too many. And I've just lost that time now, and it's like, okay, well, I should have filmed.
What would happen in those days?
My backup work, like if I'm not doing anything and I feel like I haven't done anything during the day, I would spend a lot of time curating. Because it's something that I don't need to set up or anything. I open Amazon,
I see the problem now. I have discovered the issue.
I don't want to put in the work.
Well, but also you have this alternative work,
And
which
that-
is
yes.
not as worky. It's not the same to the same extent. Kirk bringing in the coffee. Unbelievable, man. Shout out to Kirk. Thumbs up all the way down.
Coldest water on earth, by the way.
Another cold water. It's incredible stuff. No, I hear that. I really hear that. Work that's not work. We
Yeah.
all know it.
Yeah. It's like busy work. Is
We
what I think it's called.
all know it. This
Yeah.
guy knows it. That guy knows it.
What's work?
Exactly. Work that's not work. We tell ourselves it's work. It's sort of work. It could pay off, but it's low yield work, not high yield. Your best use of time is elsewhere,
Yeah.
but you're procrastinating. And instead, you're doing the low yield work because it has lower expectations. Maybe something happens, maybe something doesn't.
Yeah. But it's still useful work, but it's not work that I need to be doing at that very moment.
Man, I hear that.
Yeah.
That's because you dread doing the thing that you should be doing.
Yeah.
And we all do. But why? Why do we dread the thing we should be doing? Because ultimately, had you done the thing you should be doing, you would have felt better after.
Yeah. Yeah. And once you start doing it, you're fine. I'm fine. Yeah, I'm filming it. And then
So a big part of it is getting it kick-started.
getting it started. Yeah.
That's where somebody else could help. They just show up at your studio and they're like, "Oh, what are we doing?" And
And then I feel responsible to do something. Yeah. And that's why I say the creative side, where it's like, okay. And it's also like spitting off ideas with someone else.
talking to another human.
I mean, yeah. And I think that's a big thing on YouTube as well. Like when you're doing it alone for so long. I've been doing it alone literally for 6 years. So, and it's like, at what point do I need to start, like, you know,
Are you talking to humans?
I've reached out to other creators and for that exact reason, to understand, okay, what issues are you going through, and like how are you dealing with it, so that, you know, maybe I can try and solve my own through what you've done.
Could there be a day where you don't talk to a human?
There have been several, and that's tough.
That
yeah.
is tough.
It's not talked about a lot, at least in the past few years. It has been, where it's like, I literally don't say a word out of my mouth the whole day. Yeah, there's been days like that, and it's like, it's tough. I mean, like at the moment, it's whatever. Like you don't think about it, but later on, it's like, wow, I haven't interacted with anyone. I didn't say anything, and it can get to you, I guess. And it takes a certain person to, like, you know, deal with it, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, I feel that one. I think you're speaking to many people, right?
Yeah.
You know, whoever watches this has to obviously, whoever made it this far in this video, there's a high likelihood that they had a similar experience, right? Because they're watching a video about videos, making videos on a platform about the platform. You know what I'm saying here? It's levels to it. Yeah. And so if somebody's here right now, they probably can feel what you're saying. I know I can feel what you're saying, because vast majority of us started out alone, spent way too much time alone, spent way too much time looking at our own faces, editing you took your face out of it. That's a smart move. Like get that face out of our own voices and things like this. And there might be some kind of threshold to that. There might be some kind of max level of that where you're just done with it. You're just you're over it. There is something about communication, being around humans. Humans have been around humans for a long time.
Yeah.
Interacting and so forth. There's some kind of, it just seems like a healthier way to be. You just come in, you see Willie do. Can you imagine? You go in, you see him over there. No,
Seeing
not at all, Will. Not at all.
Like,
You know how many people would like to come in somewhere and they just see Willie Doo sitting there?
It's a treat.
Not many.
Exactly.
No.
Yes. And you just say, well, when I come in, sometimes I come over here. What do we talk about? What even goes on? What do we say to each other? It's just a couple of words exchanged this way and that way.
Yeah, sure.
It's just, hey, what are you up to? What are you doing? Or you got the new pants the other day. Remember?
Yeah, that promotes a conversation. For sure.
If you show up around here, you got a new pant on that you don't wear normally, because there's a lot of consistency around here as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
Then we say,
Routine.
We say, oh, you decided to upgrade your pant. Like, let's hear about it. How are you feeling? Anyway, it's dumb stuff. It doesn't matter in the scheme of things. But what it does is it kind of just softens it up. It makes it less surgical. Because the surgicalness of the YouTuber lifestyle of this like blunt contrast of working or not working can be kind of defeating. It's so black and white. Did you make something today? Did you push the publish button or did you not? You failure, you suck.
Yeah.
What's the matter with you? You got this great job. Everybody else likes your job. Well, where are they? You want to know what they're doing? They got the office cubicles they're complaining about, but they're actually hanging out by the water cooler chatting about the guy's new pants.
Yeah. And that's something, like, I'm introverted and I like being alone, but you can only be alone for so long until it just gets to you.
You know what's cool about, I have people in my life who are introverted as well. When you have an introverted person who understands their introversion and might have a limitation to the degree of interaction, but loves to be around interaction.
Yeah.
You don't even necessarily have to have a tremendous amount of input. This is why people work at the coffee shop.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can just be over there, sitting in the chair, but then like two people are doing something else down there.
It's just knowing they're there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't feel crazy. You look. Otherwise, just sitting over there, you hear a noise.
Yeah.
It's paranoia. What's is that me? What did I? When do I? This. What do you think about this conversation?
I think it needs to be done more. Yeah. I've thought this for a very long time. Like, Toronto had the YouTube space for a while and then they closed it down.
Did they? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, they closed it down.
I only went when they first opened it.
Last year.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Just closed it down. It was over at Ryerson, right?
George Brown?
George Brown.
Yeah.
My bad.
The George Brown building. And they closed it down. And it was just like, there's no space for just people of similar, backgrounds to just come and chat about these problems that I think some of it is unique to us, and just some of it is general to everyone else. And there's no place to do that anymore. And
I think it's not even necessarily just YouTube. I mean, obviously we can put it on them because this is the platform that we're posting to, but it's social media and then it's also internet life.
Yeah.
Just the struggle of isolated internet life. Because there is a ton of people who are going through a similar experience to you who aren't even posting videos, but all of a sudden their job turned into work from home. And they were waking up in the morning and probably having the exact same feelings as you.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to go get this thing done, but why do I have to do it now? Maybe I can do it later. This sort of, I'm my own boss living on the internet somewhere, doing something, hitting some button. So it probably goes even deeper than that as far as this conversation is concerned. We have transitioned to just the ratio of our internet human versus our human.
Yeah. And it's just I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, no, I agree. And I've been doing it for so long where it's like when everyone switched to work from home and they started complaining about all these things, it's like, oh, I've been through all this, and you know, for the last 4 years before that, and I understand, I know where you're coming from, but the problem with the pandemic was you couldn't solve it. You couldn't solve those problems from work at home because you couldn't go out and have these meetings on the weekends to relieve the fact that you were alone all week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I couldn't see my friends for a long time, and I think that's where I started to realize, okay, well, maybe that was my outlet. Like, I was alone all day, which was fine, but then on the weekends I got to go out and, you know, have dinner with my friends and stuff, and that kind of fueled me, right? But then COVID, it's like, okay, for the whole year I couldn't do it. And then at the end of 2020, I just felt like, oh man, I don't want to throw the term burnout, but like I just felt really like I lacked motivation to, like, you know, do more videos and different videos, try something new, it's kind of thing. And it just really got to me.
Yeah.
Like emotionally and mentally, and then it started affecting me physically. So
Physically.
yeah. It was just like, you know, lack of wanting to, you know, do anything.
Right.
And so I think it's better now this year because, you know, things have opened up, but I took the initiative at the beginning of this year was like to reach out to creators. And again, back to the point where it's like there's no common space for creators to meet up and just do it. You have to just do it yourself.
Is there anybody you can mention that really sort of helped you out, or anybody that deserves a shout out on that front?
Yeah, Justin C. in Vancouver. We had a call, and he took the time to like chat, and he's been in the game for so long as well.
Yeah,
like,
since he's a kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He was so young back then, but now he's, you know, where he is now is giant. So he's faced the same problems, but he's got such a smart mind of like business sense as well.
Mm-hmm.
So like he went through the problems way before I even thought it was a problem for me.
Right.
And then he was able to walk me through like, oh, what did he do, and how did he expand, and how did he grow business wise. And yeah, he took the time out to chat, and that was awesome. I spoke to Carl as well, Carl Conrad. Also similar, like he's been in it for so long, had the same experiences. And
was that in person or also on the phone? Because he's
also on the
as well.
phone.
Also on the phone.
Yeah. It was still during like the whole lockdown and stuff.
Oh, got you.
Yeah, so I wasn't able to see anyone in person, but yeah, it's like what you realize when you start to speak to these people, and even if they're larger channels or smaller channels, is they want to talk. They want to talk to you about it. Like you yourself reached out, and I'm grateful to be here. You know, it's awesome. Like I get to talk to someone who's been through the same experiences as well, and you've built such a, you know, huge empire yourself, and like how you've done it, and you're freely sharing it. So it's like, I think that's the one thing creators need to understand is like people want to talk to about these problems.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you're open to it, and everyone else is open to it too, and don't be afraid to like just reach out.
That's absolutely a good suggestion. It is, there's almost a sense, at least for me, there's a sense that these problems are more widely applicable, and that's why it's worth it. That at all places and all times and across channels and projects and everything else, the successes are the same and the struggles are the same. The scale might be different.
Yeah.
But you become an expert in that in the weirdness of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a connection that takes place when you are able to facilitate these types of meetings. And I appreciate you coming here as well, because you don't know anything. You don't know where you're going. Like, I don't know what Will told you. He just gives you a time and a place, and then all of a sudden you're in the middle of this place. And a lot of people came, and people been through here. And yeah, I think it's worth appreciating the willingness to do that as well, because that could be intimidating too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you knocked this one out of the park. I think this has been super cool to have you here. I don't think it should be the last time. And I'm excited to see where things go. I think you should totally expand on some of that thinking around get another person involved, somebody cool, and
For sure.
I don't know, man. I think it's gonna be good, man.
I hope so.
I think it's gonna be.
I appreciate
good.
that.